Manchester City, Brentford, Liverpool, and Luton will be doubling in game week 25. Here are the best players from each team. Let's get into it.
Yo, listen up, Rue is stepping up the game. Where fantasy Premier League runs in his veins. From transfers to captains, he's always on top. Guiding you through every game week non-stop. They say Rue got that Salah flow. Welcome to the channel, enjoy the show. Wild cards, free hits with so much vibe. If you're hunting for success, then make sure you subscribe.
G'day, mate. Welcome back to the channel. I'm FPL Root and welcome back to another FPL video. So like I mentioned, in today's video, we're going to be looking at the teams that will be doubling in game week 25. So these four teams, Man City, Brentford, Liverpool and Luton, will have two games in game week 25. If you are new to the channel, please make sure you do subscribe and smash that notification bell and hit a like on this video. Let's try and hit 100 likes for this video. So first of all, we're basically going to talk about the best players. Obviously, some teams might not have 5 players, but in general, I'm going to talk about 5 players from each team and discuss whether I think you should bring them in or not. We'll start off with Man City. We'll start off with probably the best team and the team that probably has the best double. So Man City do have Chelsea at home and Brentford at home. So a really, really good double for them. Yes, Chelsea and Brentford on their day can do really well against anyone, but Man City at home are different animals. So that's a very, very good double game week for Manchester City. I've also put on here the fixtures after the double because, yes, if they've got a double this week, that is great, but the fixtures after do matter. And Bournemouth away, Man United at home, Liverpool away. For me, Bournemouth away is a very, very good fixture too for Man City. Even Man United at home and then Liverpool away, obviously, that's going to be a tough game for them. But I'd say 2 good fixtures after the double for Manchester City. Here are the 5 players I have highlighted. So first of all, we'll talk about Ederson. At the time of recording, he's 5.5 million. A lot of people have, I guess, been thinking about bringing him in because the Man City defense, I guess, can't really be trusted, or should I say Pep Guardiola can't really be trusted with picking a Man City player that is, I guess, going to play enough minutes, going to start most games. At the minute, it is a little bit of a struggle, I'd say. We all thought Walker was going to be that guy, but yeah, he did miss out on game week 22, so there is a few doubts about him. But Ederson is 15% owned. City, to be honest, haven't been great for clean sheets. They've kept one against Sheffield United in game week 20, and then that has been the only one since I think it is Man United at home, away in game week 10. So they're not outright keeping loads and loads of clean sheets. So for me, overall, I'd probably say it's not worth bringing in Ederson. Yes, it's a good way to cover the Man City defence with a guaranteed starter, but I don't think Man City's defence has been that great this season, and I don't think that Ederson keeps enough, I guess, makes enough saves and racks up the save points, which is another great way for keepers to get points. And yeah, I can't see him getting any bonus points and stuff like that. So really, it's either 6 points or 2 points from Ederson. And for me, I'd much rather go for the cheaper goalkeepers that can get save points even when they don't keep a clean sheet. Kyle Walker, so I did mention him a little bit there. He is probably, it's hard to say with Manchester City, but he's probably the most nailed defender at Man City. So he's played 21 out of 22 games this season for them. And like I said, he missed out in game week 22. And at the time of recording, I'm not too sure what happens in the Everton game, but basically, if you are going for a defender, I think Kyle Walker is the best bet, but 5.5 million is a lot of money. And I don't think Kyle Walker offers the attacking threat as other defenders around that price point. Obviously, though, you're not bringing him in solely for the attacking threat, it is for clean sheets. And he has kept 2 assists this season, so he can get an assist. But for me, he's not attacking enough for that price point. I think you've got players like even Moreno, Pedro Porro. Obviously, Porro is blanking now in game week 26, but you have a few other defenders that might be a little bit more or a little bit less and just offer so much more going forward. So for me, if you do really, really want to go for a City cover in defense / goalkeeper, then I think Kyle Walker is the person because he can get assists, but I won't say he's attacking as someone like Trent or someone like Porro. But yeah, I do think he is the best defensive option for Man City. Kevin De Bruyne up next. So obviously, I think a player that we'd all have in our teams if if money was permitting. Since he's come back from injury, he's been incredible. He has literally hit the ground running. He hasn't started every game since he's come back, but he has started the last two, which I think is really, really important coming up to this double game week. I did really want to see him start a couple games in a row, knowing that he can do that in the double game week. 10.8 million, 31% owned, so his ownership is going up and up and up. And yeah, for me, ahead of the double game week, I think a lot of people are going to be bringing him in. Obviously, there's no Salah in the picture at the moment. He could be back for double game at 25, but I don't think he'll play both, even if he is back, because he's obviously just come back from injury. But that does maybe leave a little bit of money for someone like Kevin De Bruyne in the midfield. However, for me, he is a little bit too expensive for my liking, and I don't think he is guaranteed both starts. I think there's a high chance he does, but I don't think he's guaranteed. But like I said, since he's come back, he's got a goal and 3 assists. He's hit the ground running. If you can get him in, then get him in. That's my advice. If it's going to take you a -4, -8, and it's going to mess up your team, then I'd probably give it a miss for De Bruyne. Phil Foden up next. So I guess a player in the City midfield that would normally be, I guess, a rotation risk, but he has been incredible for Man City this season. He started 20 games out of 22 they've played, 8 goals, 7 assists. So that's 15 returns in 20 games. He's got a hat trick last time out as well against Brentford. I know a few people benched him, which is actually really sad to see, because obviously I don't want people to miss out on points because of them benching him. That's just horrible. Like, I know I benched Garnacho and Moreno this week, and it was a horrible feeling. So hopefully you didn't bench him, and hopefully you started him and got his hat trick. But I actually really, really like Phil Foden. He's 8 million at the moment and 28% owned. I actually think I just can't see him. I think he's playing too well for Pep to want to rest him. And I think he, at that price, I think even if he does not start in a game, he's going to get 30 minutes. He's going to get at least 120 minutes on the pitch, and 2 home games against Brentford and Chelsea, who both concede goals. I think that can be really nice for Phil Foden. I'll wrap it up what I think the priorities are to bring in, but I think Phil Foden is definitely up there with Haaland, who I'm going to talk about next, in terms of priorities to bring in this game week if you are looking for a Man City option. So Haaland for me is a must own. I know that gets thrown around a lot. Is he essential? Is he essential? Haaland is essential for a double game week against Chelsea and Brentford, both at home. Like, let's not sugarcoat this. Let's not pull it in any other way. Let's not say, oh, if we use the money here. No, everyone's going to triple captain Haaland in that game week. Let's not say everyone. Let's say I think 70% of people will triple captain Haaland in that game week. His ownership 64.5% at the minute. That's only going to go up and up and up leading up to the double game week, which I can see it going up to 85. And for me, I think at least 75% of people will be captaining him. And to be honest, I agree with them. I probably will be triple captaining him, which is going to be, I guess, around the same amount of people that are captaining him. So for me, if you don't own Haaland, just get him in your team. Even if he doesn't start both games, which I think he will. He's back now. He's played a game. Obviously, barring any injuries or any setbacks, I think he's going to play, and he's going to score goals. I think let's just not forget what he is and how great he is. If I had to rank these 5 players in terms of priority, I think Haaland is an absolute priority to get into your teams. Don't go into the double game week without Erling Haaland. Phil Foden, for me, is the next priority. I think the only way you could go without Phil Foden is if you have Kevin De Bruyne. But I think that price difference of around 2.8 million is a lot of money, and it can be used somewhere else. And I think Phil Foden can match Kevin De Bruyne and potentially exceed him. So I would probably go Foden over De Bruyne. Obviously, I wouldn't go both though. I think it's a little bit too much to go both. So other than that, I probably would go Walker. So I'd say Haaland priority, Foden or De Bruyne if you have the money for De Bruyne. And then Kyle Walker next. Let's move on to Brentford. So Brentford do have a double game week, just like Manchester City, and they also don't blank in game week 26, just like Manchester City. So Liverpool at home, Man City away for Brentford. Not the best double game week, but I put it in green because it is a double game week. They've got West Ham away and Chelsea at home, and then they've got Arsenal away. So a really, really tough running for Brentford. And to be honest, they've been in really bad form. I know there's a bit of, I guess, it's skewed a little bit people's opinions on Brentford recently because of Ivan Toney coming back, but they've only won 2 games since game week 11. That's like 12 game weeks with only winning twice, and they've lost every other game. So they've not been picking up any points really. They picked up 6 points in them game weeks. And like I said, the fixtures are really, really bad for Brentford. Yes, there is a double game week, but it is a tough double game week against probably the 2 best teams in the league. And then they face Arsenal anyway in game week 28, which is, which is a tough game as well. So we all talk about their players though, because obviously they do double, they don't blank in 26, and they're guaranteed to not blank in game week 29. So you're really getting the maximum amount of games from Brentford players. So I think there still are options, but I wouldn't say I'd be going for them, but we'll talk for them now. I think Flecken is an okay option. 4.5 million, 2.4% owned. He got a 10-pointer last time out. He got an assist against Manchester City and ended up with 12 saves. So that means he got 4 save points. He got an assist. Plus he got a couple bonus. So yeah, really good performance. But other than that, the last time he actually returned a good score rather than a save point, he was at away at Chelsea in game week 10. So yeah, not a great keeper. And I think the way Brentford are conceding goals, I'd probably stay away from someone like Flecken. But don't get me wrong, if you do have another goalkeeper, for example, Dubravka, for example, someone that's not playing in game week 26 or game week 29, so maybe you have Alisson, then I think Flecken can be a nice player to have for the double game week, to have for the blank game week in 26, to have for the blank game week in 29. Whereas if you go for an outfield player, you're going to have to bench him, or you're going to have to play him in some of these tougher fixtures. Whereas Flecken, I guess you can rotate them with your goalkeeper. Reguilon, I want to talk about next. So I did mention him, I think last week, that potentially he could be a nice option. Obviously, like I said, it just comes down to Brentford and conceding goals. So I am not expecting, to be honest, any clean sheets from Brentford in this double game week. But Reguilon can get assists. He hasn't got any this season, but in his period for Spurs, he got 4 assists, 2 goals in a season, and then he got 6 assists in the 2021 season. So he can be attacking, and I think he's kind of playing as almost wing back in this Brentford system. However, to be honest, even though he's 4.4 million, I just think there's better double game week defenders for that price point, which we'll talk about later on when we talk about the Luton section. So for me, I'd stay clear of Reguilon and probably any defensive option from Brentford. Midfield, you could argue that Jensen is not a bad pick. 5.4 million, 0.8% owned. Started the season very, very well. Ended up getting 3 goals, 4 assists, but he hasn't actually. He returned in game week 21, but before that, last time he returned was game week 11. So he has got it in him though. Is it worth a punt for a double game week? Is he worth, maybe if you've got Anthony Gordon who potentially could be injured, is it worth bringing in Jensen for this double game week for a player that you know is going to play? I don't think so. To be honest, I'm trying to convince myself, but I don't think so. Again, I think there are better options out there. Yes, Palmer has a blank. Yes, Gordon could be injured or not come back from injury well enough. But you've got someone like Douglas Luiz who yes is not an attacking player, but he's on penalties. He will play in game week 29, and he could be an option. You've also got Leon Bailey around that price point. So for me, I wouldn't be going for someone like Jensen. I think the forwards though for Brentford do make things a little interesting. Mopai has been on form, to be honest, the last few games, and he's only 4.9 million. So as I was saying, Haaland is essential. So if you do need to drop down another forward to afford Haaland, then I think Mopai can be a good option. He scored 3 in his last 3, and they've been against Forest, Spurs, and Man City, so some tough fixtures. He scored 5 goals this season, 3 assists in 10 starts, so 8 returns in 10 starts. Yeah, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I don't hate it for the price point. I think if you did want to go for a massive differential, only 1% owned, very, very cheap, use the money to maybe get a Haaland, then I don't hate it at all. But yeah, I'd probably be going somewhere else if you could. But to be honest, yeah, I don't hate it at all. But again, we'll talk about that later on in the video in the Luton section, because I think Luton have players maybe not as good as Brentford, but they have players that have better fixtures than Brentford. So yeah, so for me, that's probably where I'd spend the money on the cheap players. However, Ivan Toney for 8.1 million, 6.4% owned, I think can be a very, very nice differential. We know Toney can score against anyone. We know he's back from his ban now. He's ended up 2 goals, 1 assist in his 3 games back. He's guaranteed to start, guaranteed to play 90 minutes on penalties. And we've seen how great he was last season, 20 goals, 4 assists, even the season before, 12 goals, 5 assists. And to be honest, he needs to, which he already is, don't get me wrong, but he needs to drag Brentford out of this mess. And to be honest, I can definitely see these teams conceding maybe. And I think Toney can score, but it's just the price tag. However, you're guaranteed a double, obviously, in Game at 25. He plays in 26 and he plays in 29, absolute guarantee. So for me, it is a nice pick, and it is a differential. But like I'm going to mention, I do prefer a couple options later on in this video that are around the same price point. But if maybe you don't have all your chips, if maybe you have used your free hit or used your wild card, then I think Ivan Toney is probably a very, very good pick, because like I said, has a double in 25, plays in 26, plays in 29. So basically without your wild card and free hit, you probably can't maneuver that. So for that reason, I'd probably be bringing in Toney. But if you still have them, then I'd probably be giving Toney a miss, even though I do think he is a nice differential. If I had to rank these players, I'd probably go for Toney, Morpie, and Flecken, I'd say. I think Flecken, because you can bench him if you do have another goalkeeper, but he'll be there for the blank game weeks. So yeah, that's what I'd go for. But to be honest, if you do want to go for Toney, do go for it, because you know he's going to score goals. Like, you know it. It's just how many goals is he going to score against Liverpool, Man City, West Ham, Chelsea, Arsenal? That's my problem. But we've seen him do it before. We know he can do it. So yeah, I don't hate the move at all. So next up we have Liverpool. So Liverpool do have obviously a double game week as well, which is, I guess, why I'm talking about them. But their double game week is, to be honest, I wouldn't say as good as City's, but it's up there. It's still really, really good. Obviously they play Brentford and then they have Luton at home. So on paper, you'd say very, very good, because they have a newly promoted side. But I think because it's away from home, Brentford, and because Luton, I've been playing well this season, I probably just don't think it's as good as Man City's. You've also got to factor in that they do blank in game week 26. So that is a massive factor, because any player you bring in, you potentially might have to take them out in game week 26 if you don't have, I guess, a strong enough bench to bench them. So that is definitely something to take into consideration. To be honest, there are so many good options for Liverpool, but these are the top 5, and then I'll put them in order at the end. So Trent, we'll talk about first, 8.5 million. He's just come back from injury, so he didn't manage to play 60 minutes. He came off after 57 minutes against Arsenal in game week 23. He's 21.5% owned at the minute. And to be honest, he is a lot of money. If you own him, I'd say I would keep him. Obviously, no problem. If you are looking to bring him in, then I probably wouldn't go for him, to be honest. I think the fact that Connor Bradley has played so well, and the fact that Trent isn't, I wouldn't say it probably is, but by the time we get to game week 25, we probably would be fit enough to start 90 minutes. But I don't know if he's got enough match fitness to play 2 games in a week, and then they've got a cup final as well in that sort of time frame. So for me, I probably won't be bringing in Trent, although I do think he is one of the best Liverpool options. I just think with the blank, with the fact that he's coming back from injury, with the fact that there's a cup final in the mix as well, and Connor Bradley's there, absolutely flying, ready to take Trent's place. Yeah, I probably won't be rushing to get Trent, but I still think he is a very good option. Virgil, on the other hand, Van Dijk, 6.3 million, 15.1% owned. I actually think could be a very nice differential if you maybe can't afford Trent. Yeah, he's got 1 goal, 2 assists this season, but I feel like he always pops up with a goal in a double game week. I know I've had him a few times in doubles, and he's done so well for me. And you're saving 2.2 million on Trent. You know he's going to play 90 minutes. You know he's going to play both games. You know he's going to be a threat from set pieces. For me, yeah, I do like him as an option. But if you're looking at it, Trent v Van Dijk, I think Trent's obviously a better pick. Like, he's obviously a better option, but you need to look at it as Van Dijk is absolutely guaranteed to start. And with the fact that Liverpool have a blank in 26, I think the fact that he's absolutely guaranteed to start is crucial, because you're really getting 2 games for 2 games, because teams that don't double in 25 will have a game in 25 and a game in 26. Liverpool that double in 25 will have 2 games in 25, no game in 26. So over the 2 game week period, they will play the same amount of games. But obviously, you don't want your player to not play in one of the double game week games, because then they'll end up playing 1 game over 2 game weeks, whereas the rest of the league will play 2 out of 2 game weeks. So it is a tricky one. I think if you want to play it safe, I think Van Dijk is a good option, but I do think Trent is a better option. I'm just a little bit worried that he will play both games, to be completely honest. Next up, Jota. I think Jota is, again, I'll go for it at the end, but I think he is one of the best Liverpool options coming up ahead of the double game week. There's always a threat that Salah does come back for one of the fixtures in game week 25. However, I think Jota's place is secured. I think he's been on fire while Salah's been away. 8 goals, 5 assists this season in 11 starts, which is, yeah, ridiculous. 13 attacking returns in 11 starts. He plays through the middle, can play on the right, can play on the left. He's so versatile, and I just really can't see Jurgen Klopp dropping him. And for me, I think him being a midfielder and him being around that 8 million, I think he's about 8.1 million now. So him being around that price point is very useful when you're making transfers, because maybe you have a Jared Bowen, maybe you have a Saka, maybe you have Anthony Gordon, you have a bit of spare money. You can easily get to Jota. And there are so many, I guess, good forwards and midfielders that you can probably bench Jota in game week 25, game week 26, and not be hurt too much, I'd say. So I think, yeah, Jota is a very good option for this upcoming double game week. Luis Diaz is still a very good option, but I'd say more of a differential pick. 7.8% owned and 7.4 million. So 7.7 million less than Jota. I wouldn't say he's as good as Jota, even though he has been performing in the last 2 game weeks. He's got 2 assists and a goal in the last 2 game weeks at the time of recording. So he's got 4 goals, 4 assists this season, 17 starts. For me, he doesn't do enough in terms of goals and assists. I think he's a wonderful player, but he doesn't do enough. For me, I'd only go for Luis Diaz if you don't have the money. Darwin, I actually really like. Again, he's probably not nailed like Trent if Salah does come back. Even if Salah doesn't come back, I don't think he's absolutely nailed. We've seen him over the years, or over the year, that last season, that if there's games where they're in within 3 days, within 4 days of each other, then he does seem to get rested. a lot. And I think with Salah coming back potentially for that last game in game week 25, you could see Darwin maybe be rested. And again, like I said, that's the last thing you want from a player that has got a double and then a blank. 7.4 million though is a very, very good price. There is arguments to take out Ollie Watkins to get him in, but I think now that Ollie Watkins has a fixture in game week 29, I don't think it's worth the transfer in and then out straight away for someone like Darwin. But potentially, if you made it ahead of game week 24, where you got Burnley at home as well as the double, then potentially you could argue that. But I think just for the double, I'm not too sure I'd take up Solanke or Watkins, because Solanke has a couple doubles coming up. Watkins, like I said, plays in game week 29. For me, I'd much rather save the transfer and not go for Darwin. That is not guaranteed 2 starts. We've seen him in the past be rested when there's been more than 1 game a week. But he could score a hat-trick in 1 game. You know he's that sort of player. And yeah, we know how good he can be. If I had to rank him overall, I'd probably say Jota is number 1. I think he is the best option. I think he plays whether Salah's back, whether everyone's fit up front. I think Jota plays. I think he's in banging form. I think he can play left, right, through the middle. Jota is my number 1 pick. Number 2, I'd probably say Trent, to be honest. Even though I'm a bit worried about him starting, I just think that he can do so much damage in 1 game. And even if he comes off maybe just after the 60th minute, he banks that clean sheet, maybe plays 60 minutes in the next game. That could actually come to your advantage if Liverpool do concede later on. So I would go for Trent. And then the next option, I'd probably go for Darwin if you're not taking out Watkins or Solanke. If you're taking out maybe Alvarez, I'm not too sure. Even Alvarez is worth taking out for with a double game it around the corner. But if you're taking out maybe a Gabriel Jesus or someone else, not Watkins or Solanke, then I would probably go for Darwin and take the risk. But if you're taking out Watkins and Solanke, I probably wouldn't put Darwin in. I'll probably go for maybe the double defense and go for Virgil. But overall, I think having Jota is probably essential. And if you've got Trent, happy days. If not, I'd probably look at Virgil instead. So last but not least, we've got Luton Town. So they have a double game week, a really tough one as well. Man United at home, Liverpool away. Then they've got a blank in game week 26, and then they've got Villa at home in 27, and then another double game week in game week 28 against Palace away and Bournemouth away. So 2 double game weeks in the next 4, a blank game week as well, and then they've got Villa at home. So interesting one with Luton. I think a lot of people probably weren't thinking about bringing in Luton players ahead of this double game week 25. However, with the news that they will now play a double game week in game week 28, I think it makes Luton players a really, really good option to be honest, for the foreseeable future until you play your wild card if you've still got it left. Obviously, you have to take into consideration that they do blank in game week 26, so it has to be a player that you can potentially bench or a player that you can take out. Because to be honest, you're going to want them for 28, so you need to have a player that you can bench. So maybe if you do have 3 Liverpool, you probably can't have 3 Luton. If you've got 2 Liverpool, 2 Luton, then you could. And obviously Spurs and Chelsea do blank in game week 26 too. So you have to take into consideration their players as well when you're thinking about blank game week 26. We'll talk about their players though. So although their fixtures, I guess, on paper do look tough, for example, Man United at home, Liverpool away, I think Man United at home could actually be a really good fixture for Luton. Yes, Man United have kind of picked up a little bit of form, but I just don't trust them to be consistent enough, to be honest. Talk about their goalkeeper first. So Kaminsky, 4.5 million, under 1% owned. A goalkeeper that I guess none of us were probably thinking about bringing in before this double game week, but I think bringing in a Luton goalkeeper can be very, very smart. Obviously, they have the double, then they blank, then they have a double in 28, and they potentially actually have a game in 29. So if them and Forest get knocked out by Man United and Man City, then their game will go ahead in game week 29. So potentially you could have a goalkeeper with a double, Then you could play your second goalkeeper, whether that's Areola, Dubravka, etc., in game week 26. And then you've got whoever goalkeeper you want in 27. Then you've got a double in 28, and then potentially you got Luton goalkeeper in game week 29. So it could be a really, really smart move. And I think 4.5 million, it does look like a really nice move. I don't really normally advocate for goalkeeper transfers. I think it is a waste of time. But the fact that you're covering all the blanks, you're covering double, you're getting doubles as well. Like, you're not just covering the blanks. I think it could be a nice move. Obviously, you're probably not going to get many clean sheets with this one because, yeah, the teams they're playing, even Palace and Bournemouth can score goals. So you're probably not going to get many clean sheets, but you're going to rack up save points, especially against Liverpool, especially against Man United. So yeah, it could be a nice option that is a massive differential. Doughty, a defender for Luton that a lot of people have been talking about recently, 4.6 million, under 6% owned, has been very attacking, especially the last few game weeks. 7 assists this season, 1 goal in 18 starts, so pretty good for a Luton fullback. And to be honest, yeah, he has been very good attacking wise. I bought him in ahead of game week 24. Yeah, I do really like him. I think he's perfect to just sit on the bench in the blank game week, ride him through, maybe not play him every game week, but play him for the doubles, and just have him there as an option to play. And the fact that he's attacking as well, just yeah, to be honest, edges it, and why I brought him in. I think if he wasn't as attacking and he was just a Luton defender, then I probably won't go for him because I don't fancy the clean sheets. I just think appearance points, attacking potential clean sheets. I think he is a no-brainer if you are looking for a defender at this current stage for around 4.5, 4.6 million. Ross Barkley's next on the list, so 4.9 million, 1% owned. I actually can't believe I'm mentioning Ross Barkley, but he's got 2 assists and a goal in his last 2, and he's got 2 goals, 2 assists in his last 4. So he's been ticking along, to be honest, since he started playing for Luton. I actually don't know where it was at before. I don't know if it was Everton or what, but or even Chelsea. But yeah, he's been doing pretty well, to be honest. And this season, 3 goals, 4 assists. He started 15 games. It's a struggle to recommend Barkley, but if you do need to downgrade a position, maybe have a 5th midfielder that is actually a little bit more expensive, then potentially Barkley could be a differential option. But I wouldn't, to be honest. I think that Luton don't score enough goals, or there's not enough goals in the team, I'd say. And the fact that Ross Barkley is not an attacking midfielder. He's not a defensive midfielder, but he's not an attacking midfielder. So yeah, for that reason, I probably would just stay clear of Barkley. But again, differential, if you want to go for it, I don't hate it. Next up, Adebayo, which I think is one of the top options for Luton. So 4.9 million forward. So when I was talking about Mopai, I was talking about maybe you need to downgrade another position to upgrade Haaland. And I think Adebayo is probably the best option for that rather than Mopai. 2.8 million. 2.8% owned, 4.9 million. He has actually done really well this season. 9 goals in 12 starts. So a very nice return for a Luton side that, like I said, doesn't score loads of goals. Having said that, they scored 8 goals in game weeks 23 and 22 combined. So maybe they are a goal scoring team. Who knows? And to be honest, I actually really like him. Like I said, with Tony, etc., and with Darwin, I just wouldn't be taking out Ollie Watkins and Solanke for him. I think I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure it's worth that when you're going to probably have to bring in Watkins in a few game weeks back. You're probably going to have to bring in Solanke for the double. I'm just not sure it's worth it. I'm not sure the money is used anywhere else, can be used anywhere else. Like, obviously, if you need it to get back to Haaland, then fair enough. But potentially you could use it to get De Bruyne, which I don't hate that move, to be honest. It can be a nice differential, but it is very aggressive. And if you do want to play like that, then I think fair enough, go for it. Next up, Carlton Morris. So player that kind of started the season off pretty well. 5 million, 2.2% owned. Has picked up his form again, 2 goals, 2 assists, just like Adebayo in the last 3 game weeks. This season, he's got 5 goals, 6 assists in 16 starts. He was going through a period where he wasn't starting, he was coming off the bench. But I think he started game weeks 22, 23. I think he'll start in the doubles as well, and he could be a potential option. However, I do prefer Adebayo for the 0.1 cheaper. I think he's a bigger goal threat. Yes, Carlton Morris has got more assists to his game, but I think Adebayo is a bigger goal threat, and I'd probably go for him. Overall, for Luton, I'd probably rank. This is a tough one because it all depends on your team. But in terms of options for the double game weeks and for the kind of the rest of the season, I'd probably go Kaminsky. I'd probably go Kaminsky #1 because of the fact that you can bench him. But I'd only go for him if you do have another decent goalkeeper, maybe even like a Dubravka or someone else around, like that's half decent. I wouldn't go for him if you have maybe an Areola or someone, or like because West Ham are unreliable. I'd only go for him if you have a goalkeeper that has a decent fixture in 26, decent fixture in 27. And then you can potentially play your wild card if you are. But yeah, I'd probably go him #1. Then second, I'd go Doughty because of the attacking threat, because of the fact that I think defenders are probably a little bit more easily benched. So even if you don't want to play him in the non-double game weeks, it's absolutely fine. He's only 4.6 million. It's not a big deal. And then next, I'd go Adebayo as an enabler to get someone like Haaland in, to get someone like De Bruyne in. Like I said, he has been scoring goals, and to have, again, it all depends on if you can bench him in 26 and not play with 10 players, etc. Or if it maybe stops you from getting more Liverpool players, potentially. But to have that many game weeks over 4 game weeks, so he's got 5 games over 4 game weeks, and he's missing a whole game week. I think he's going to score a few goals in that, surely. That was it for this video. Let me know what you think of my picks and the transfer tips. Do you agree with me? Who do you think is the best Man City, Liverpool, Brentford, and Luton options ahead of the double game week 25? Smash a like on this video. Let's try and hit 100 likes. And subscribe to the channel if you are new, because I'm trying to hit 2,000 subscribers before the end of the season. And I'll catch you in the next video. Good luck for the game week.